Malcolm Nance tweeted this in response to that idiot post. Is Trump effing high? Nigeria is the most populated country in Africa with 237 million people. Also, it's 45% Christian. That's 106 million Christians. He said the Gulf has been fighting a counterinsurgency against Islamic terrorists for decades. Nigerian Muslims murder, kidnap, attack disproportionately in the north, which is why we were helping them stop Boko Haram. Get this demented old fool off the Adderall and off social media.
That's right. So it is important to note that we have spent, again, another more than a decade engaging in this specific issue and working very closely with our African allies as far as addressing these issues. But unfortunately, it requires more than just a defense approach. It requires diplomacy and using international organizations like the United Nations the right way, not necessarily just bringing in a hammer to address it and then calling it out. I just think that this is definitely treated differently compared to the other crises that are happening around the world because it is Nigeria.
Questions from the panel. Niambi, you first.
Thank you so much for bringing this context. I mean, this is certainly not an issue that requires a celebrity, but someone who really understands the region. Is there any concern that Trump's threats might be followed through on, and this sort of hay about Christian violence as used as pretext to invade Nigeria and take resources?
There is some concerns involving your implication. It's very wild in terms of which way it can go. But I think what we're seeing is the way they're studying this approach is probably going to be similar to what you're seeing in Venezuela, as well as the Gaza crisis, where they feel that, he starts off very partial, only favoring one group, and then eventually he starts to double down on diplomacy.
And it's unfortunate that she didn't see that that's exactly what this was.
Right, and you could tell that she didn't necessarily really assess the entire situation in terms of the dynamics, especially when it comes to energy. I mean, energy diplomacy is a huge part when it comes to U.S. foreign policy, right? So when the Ukraine-Russia crisis broke out, we were restricted in terms of a specific energy market to where the United States had to run to Venezuela as far as helping to stabilize oil prices. And it's the same thing when it comes to Nigeria, right? But what we're seeing is a level of bullying tactics when it comes to the United States right now, where it's, yeah, I need you, but I can still bully you to get what I want. And it's very risky because this is not how you manage your allies and partners in the 21st century international system. So I don't think that that's being taken into account, especially when it comes to Nicki Minaj. We need someone better that understands these issues, has the ability to project power and influence, and be able to engage in this effectively, and not what we just saw just recently.
Well, let's just be clear. Having Nicki Minaj speak on this stuff is just about trying to get viral attention. That's what it is. Teresa?
Yeah, I totally agree. And, I think one of my questions for you, Acha, is what are the Nigerian people saying about this? Because this, is an economic issue, right? And I do believe Nicki Minaj was just the wrong source of this. I think she should have been very educated on this. But what are the people, in Nigeria saying about what's going on and how they're being portrayed?
Well, apparently they're saying it's insulting to use her as a way to influence their security environment right now. Again, as mentioned before, we could have used the interfaith community. We could have used civil rights leaders and look at examples like Reverend Jesse Jackson, or tap into people like, Reverend Al Sharpton or Jamal Bryant, if you want to talk about an interfaith approach, even the Pope. So to be able to put her on the international stage and promote a message like this, it's insulting to them, and it has no influence, and it tells you a lot about how the United States views African countries. Just an example prior to this was South Africa. Look how we engaged with their leadership in the Oval Office. So it's further defining how we are approaching this issue, and to be able to put her on stage as far as trying to influence it. I don't think they're not in favor of it at all. And where is the approach when it comes to the Sudan issue? They've been pretty limited as far as how they're messaging on that. So the messaging is not good when it comes to U.S. foreign policy when it involving this continent. And unfortunately, they should have used someone else.
An excellent point.
But rhetoric matters when it comes to the United States presidency. So it definitely will most likely exacerbate conditions there in Nigeria where they'll take advantage of his optics. That's why it's just very unfortunate that her optics there were one-sided.
Wait,
So personally, I haven't respected Nicki since she went on her drug-fueled tirade about Cardi B's children, but that's neither here nor there. I just want to bring up a few valuable points about how, while we're over here in the West, what we're missing about a crucial component about the African continent is it's not about religion. Most often it's about tribalism. What we're seeing in Nigeria is that the Fulanis are actually the ones that are indiscriminately attacking. So that means they're not focused on attacking Muslims or Christians specifically. Nigeria, to set the context, is a 50% Muslim, 50% Christian country, right? So
yes,
they're not focused on religion as much as they're focused on getting money, right? These are gangs, essentially. So they're extorting people for money. They're kidnapping people indiscriminately, right? But I think, to Roland's point previously, we have to follow the money. When we think about oil, right? When you said resources earlier, when my previous panelist said resources, we're talking about oil. Nigeria just last year opened up the largest single-site refinery in the world with the current capacity of 650,000 barrels per day under the world's richest black man, Aliko Dangote, right? So why do you think the United States all of a sudden gives a damn about Nigeria? That's why. What about when Trump called Nigeria a shithole country? He didn't care about Nigeria then. He doesn't care about Nigeria now. It's about following the money. And as long as we follow the money, we know exactly where Trump is headed. This is rhetoric. Nicki was used as a tool.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.